Republican presidents are very much used to having to negotiate with the party's very conservative flank, but having to deal with the rhinos, Donald Trump is unfortunately in that position. The original Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 was largely paid for by capping the state and local tax deduction at $10,000. This raised some $70 billion each year, massively reducing the deficit, but also, in the long run, is forcing these Democratic polities to spend more on their own policies. Now, the SALT terrorists, as I call them, these are 5 members of the Rhino Republicans in the House, they will not accept the House leadership tripling the SALT deduction to $30,000. They want even more. They want to effectively uncap the SALT deduction, which instead of saving $2 trillion, which ending the SALT deduction, bringing it to zero would do, they want to uncap it, which would cost roughly $2 trillion. Luckily, the Don Father's finally spoken. He says, we don't want to benefit Democrat governors. Correct. He tells Mike Lawler, who's spearheading all of this, just end it. And he said, I know your district better than you do. If you lose because of SALT, you were going to lose anyway. And I think that's the truth. Because right now, as we pass the one big beautiful bill, the last thing we want to do is spend more money on helping, effectively subsidize Gavin Newsom's healthcare for illegals, when instead that could be going to mitigating no tax on tips.
That's interesting, Tiana. I view this entire situation a little bit differently, and I think it's funny that you're calling them SALT terrorists, because really the people that they're hurting are their own party, right? Let's be honest. What's a greater, probability? Donald Trump primaries these Republicans out, and they still maintain red districts in these big blue states, or the Republicans, the big money donors in those areas who were voting these members into office, are just going to say, to hell with it. I'm going to move to Florida where it's firmly red and I don't have to worry about these insane taxes that my city of, my cushy Manhattan penthouse comes along with.
I think that's the whole point, Christian.
Yeah?
That's literally the whole point. We saw before COVID, the great interstate red migration wave was already happening because of the SALT deduction. You had people like Donald Trump, like AOC's mother, leave New York to move to Florida. And in the long run, Republicans will benefit. We already know that given the current population trajectory, in 2030, the Electoral College will shift so much that even if Kamala Harris had won the blue wall, she still would have lost the election. So it's the long game. And look, political capital is use it or lose it. And I will always quote Nancy Pelosi when it came to Obamacare. She said, we're here to do a job, not keep a job. Or Democrats lost more seats in the House than any party in, 100 years?
But they got their bill.
They did, and they achieved what Barack Obama wanted to do, which was to fundamentally transform America. And my thing is, we can't even cap the SALT deduction at $30,000. They're saying that's too much. And just one point that I think, like you and I both, favoring general taxes to be more progressive, like you probably more than me, but like still in general, I don't like a tax cut that dramatically adds to the deficit that, let's see, so the majority of removing the SALT cap would go to the 1%. Even capped at $10,000, already, 75% of the benefit goes to the top 20% of earners.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the Democrat fear-mongering about Donald Trump rewriting the tax code to benefit his super wealthy friends, it seems like it's really the SALT Republicans who are trying to do it and not the president.